fråga bara. Det är fortfarande anmälningsformulär som ligger uppe under webben. Det är någonting jag kan göra.
Den finns, om du kollar vilket annat webbinar som helst så ska det finnas en länk.
Det är en och samma länk då?
Det är en och samma länk till alla. Den finns också under webinars en sida där för det är en och samma sida där vi alltid streamar.
Okej, men ja.
Hi everyone, I hope that you can hear me. We will be starting in just a few seconds. All right, we should be set to go. I hope that everyone can hear me, and now you should be able to see my iPad as well. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar where we will be talking about advertising in iPad magazines. My name is Mike Kazarnovich and not Mike Haney. Our hero Mike Haney is on another meeting, so I will be talking to you. And I also have Anders Odevik, my trusted companion, with me, who will be answering your questions in the chat. If you have any, so feel free to use the chat to if you have any questions. Okay, so when it comes to advertising or creating iPad magazines, there are quite a few differences between advertising in traditional magazines and advertising in iPad magazines or tablet magazines. So most magazines rely on ads, and while it's easy to just take a traditional print ad into a tablet, it does not engage the users as much as if you create a native ad. And there are many studies that have been done on reading magazines and seeing and looking at how readers interact. And one study showed that tablet optimized ads deliver up to 60% action rate and 68% recall. And that study also found that 80% of readers spend more than 30 minutes with a digital publication. So that's quite a lot. And you also have that more than 50% of those people opt in to share their personal information, which of course is great if you're a publisher or an advertiser. So what different types of advertising do you have when it comes to tablet magazines? Well, first of all, you have the traditional type of advertising like ads inside the magazines, and we will be covering a few of those examples. But then you have the ones that are specific for the tablet, and those are sponsorships and ad networks. And if we take a look at sponsorships, one common thing to do, or one possible thing to do that none of our clients has done as yet, is to use the loading screen. So whenever you start up a magazine, for example, let's go and start up Mad Magazine, you see a loading screen. That loading screen could actually be used not only to show the magazine name, you could actually use it to show the logo of an advertiser, for example, or a quick message. There are cons with doing this because you need to update the app every time you want to change this. So this requires the user to re-download the app or download the app again, and not only a new issue. But that's one of the possibilities. Another thing you can do is use the branding bar. One of our clients that does this is Outside Magazine. So if we look at the store, if you look at the top of the screen, you see that right above the navigation bar, it says Outside, Live the Active Life. So that's a space that's available to you to put either your own logo or even a message from an advertiser up there. Another related thing that you can put in the store screen is a banner, which the Next Web have done in their magazine in a very nice way. So this allows the Next Web to actually display ads, and these ads are even interactive. I can swipe through these ads. So the obvious drawback of these ads is that they're only visible in the store screen, but they have interaction, and as you see, you can also switch them, so you can have several ads and make them automatically switch. One of the good things about this type of ad is that you can actually hotlink into an HTML file, so you can switch this content without the user having to do anything at all. One app that has done both of these is Popular Science. So looking at Popular Science in the store, you can see that they both are using the branded toolbar in the top, and they're also using the banner space to advertise their own paper. There's one more thing that you can do in the app before you actually get to the magazine, and that's using the live button, like British Journal of Photography. So you can see in the navigation bar at the top, there is a live button. And if I click the live button, I will actually be pointed to the HTML file that they have specified. So that's a way to deliver dynamic content. It can be your own content, or it can be an advertiser's content. The address that you point this to can be changed in the backend. So this again does not require that the user does anything. The obvious drawback of this is, of course, that the user actually has to click or press or tap this button in order to see this. What this could be combined with is with replacing the background image of the navigation bar. As you can see, the navigation bar has a black gradient here. So what you could actually do is replace that. So you could put a logo, or you could actually even put a message there to press the live button, and so that whenever the user brings up the screen, he or she would see, oh, I could. There's something for me if I press the live button. Pressing the live button could give them an ad or a message from a sponsor or an advertiser. This also brings us to the next the next couple of examples, and now we're starting to get into the actual magazines and into the issues. What you're seeing on screen is this is British Journal of Photography, and this is actually an embedded ad. So the Facebook screen here, the Facebook part, is embedded HTML. So in this way, you could actually use ad networks to embed your ads by pointing the user to, the app to a URL that delivers dynamic ads in the same format. You could serve dynamic ads. This, of course, requires that the user is connected. So, for example, if I were watching this in flight mode, if I was on an airplane and watching this in flight mode, I would not get the Facebook screen right there. So this requires connection, but it's a very good way. What you should remember when doing this is that the embedded browser works slightly different than Safari. So if you choose to do this, make sure that you actually test it in the app, in the magazine, and not only in mobile Safari. So just a word of warning there. And you can, of course, also embed HTML ads in the magazines. You can have a full screen HTML ad. This example comes from Outside Magazine, the September issue. So if we take a look at this, there's an ad here for Suzuki, and this is actually an ad built in HTML, and it shows some nice functions. You have an embedded video that I can start. This video does have sound, but I don't have that sound source connected. And of course, you can link to other pages where you can read more and interact even more with the product if you should find it interesting. And then we're at maybe the most exciting ads, the ones that actually use the full functionality in our platform. They are custom built for the platform and for the tablet, and this is a great way of making or doing advertising because you as a publisher actually don't have to produce these ads. Since our tools are free, anyone can produce these ads. So an ad agency can produce them and just export the MIB file, send it to you, and you can incorporate it in your issue. Or an advertiser can build the ad themselves, maybe in HTML or in our tool, and send it over to you. So you can actually just integrate it. So anyone can create these ads. And the first example I'd like to take is an ad, or a way of creating ads, and that's make sure that if you're using these ads and if you're linking to your homepage, make sure that your homepage is actually mobile friendly. There are many sites that surprise you with a non-mobile friendly interface, and that's a waste, because if a user actually does click your ad, well, you might as well give them something. And also a good idea is to make sure that you have a clear call to action. So this is an interesting thing. So this is an ad in Macworld, and this ad is for Mac software. So the call to action in this ad is actually to download something, but I cannot download anything to my iPad. What I can do, how they solve this, is that if I tap the ad, I get to a page where I can actually enter my email address. And if I do this, what happens is that I get a pop-up screen that says that it's been submitted, and I have a confirmation email with a download link waiting in my inbox. So in this way, they've actually managed to bypass the fact that I'm sitting on an iPad, I cannot download the software here, but when I get to my computer, I have an email waiting for me. The next example is in popular science, and here we can see an ad where the advertiser has got many products to showcase and has chosen not to cram all the products into one single page. Let's just see if I can find, there we go. So since the canvas is infinite, you can actually do whole pages of ads like this. So in this case, Sigma has got 3 different lenses that they want to show off. And it gives me as a reader the opportunity to actually interact with the ads and to read about each product without everything being jammed into one single page. In this case, they also have examples of photography taken with these lenses. So this is actually a very good way of advertising, putting in a complete vertical. And another thing that Sigma has done in a very interesting way is that tapping the Learn More button takes me to the web page, and I can actually say that I want to find a dealer, and by using my location, it would show me the stores that are close to me. Since I'm in Stockholm right now, there aren't any stores close to me. When I was in New York, I had several, so that's why I'm not seeing any stores. But that's actually a very good way to use the platform and use it fully. So in this way, Sigma actually supports their retailers, both the electronic retailers, but also the physical retailers. And remember, if you have any questions, both me and Anders, I'm looking at the chat, so I do see the chat window, and I know that Anders is also standing by. So feel free to ask. Another example from the same magazine is to actually design to use the full capability of the platform, especially if the magazine is designed for both orientations. I would strongly suggest that you make sure that your ad is as well. So, in this case, since the magazine can be read in both horizontal and vertical orientation, it's a good idea to make sure that the ad can be read in both orientations as well. And this is another example of a beautifully created ad made native for the platform. Let's jump over to another issue of popular science, where we can look at this platform. So if you were to have a big campaign cross platforms, in traditional publishing, well, you would have a print ad that reminded you of the TV commercial that you had. The beauty of the tablet, you don't have to choose. So what you can do is, like they've done here in Just for Men AutoStop, is first of all to have a print ad, an interactive print, but a print ad, but also interaction. It's designed to work both in horizontal and vertical orientation. As you can see, it switches over in a rather nice way. But what they've also done is that they've used the TV spot that they had. So clicking play video gives me the 30-second TV spot that they also broadcast. I am very sorry, I seem to have dropped out. I hope I am back now, and I hope that everyone are still here. I dropped out for a short while. Alejandro, yes, all these, you can find tutorials on these things, and we will actually soon have an app that shows all the examples of all the things that you can do with our platform, together with tutorials for that. So, yes, that is correct. So, let us move on and go on to the next example. And the next example is actually very simple, and it's so simple that people sometimes, or publishers sometimes, miss it. And that's that you can cross-market your stuff. So, for example, if you have several magazines, it's always a good idea to advertise your magazines in your other magazines. So if you have magazine A, always make sure that you advertise magazine B in that as well. And also, if you make apps, like for example here, where Popular Science created an app, this is the perfect platform to advertise an app, because the links can go directly to App Store. So if I tap this ad, I go directly to the App Store, to the app where I can buy this app. So the threshold to actually buy something is very low. Another thing when it comes to advertising is to try to think outside print, and sometimes you can be inspired by web. For example, like this ad in the Next Webs magazine. It's got a clear message. So with this, with Twitter Counter, I can track my brand, my website, or any hashtag on Twitter. And then I have a button that with this call to action, get tracking. And by tapping that, sorry, I come to a site where I can immediately sign up for their solution. So this is actually a very good way of thinking cross-platform. So taking your inspiration from ads or how you build web pages can actually be very useful when it comes to advertising. One last example is to remember where you're advertising. So, for example, if you're advertising in a magazine that has a very graphical, lots of designers and creators who read it, like for example this issue of the Next Web that contains a lot of art. As you can see, it's very focused on design, so you could assume that many designers would read this. They also have a showcase, so they have a different designer designing the cover of each magazine. And MailChimp created a really simple and beautiful ad where they only use design and the logo. And if I'm curious about this, I can of course tap the ad and go to the site and read more about their services. But this is also a way to actually be attuned to the community or to the readers and entice them by appealing to whatever it is. If it were a music magazine, for example, you could have a track playing automatically. There are actually ways you can actually use movies as well that start auto playing. A great example of that is again in the Next Web, where we have this ad. So this is a very clever design where you use animation, but in the background, so I can interact with the layers. The background just grabs my attention and gives me the message. And this is also what Popular Science has done in their latest issue for June. When I open this issue to the front page, the first thing I see is Home Depot. And then after a while, it switches over to the front page. So that's another way of branding or having a sponsor. So those were the examples that we had in mind. If you want to see more, you can see more examples in our blog at magplus.com/blog. You can also go to magplus.com/video and look at our playlist. We both have tutorials. We have other webinars that we've had earlier, and we have more examples of ads in magazines. And if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat right now. I will be on for a while longer, and you can also contact us on Twitter or on Facebook. And on Twitter, we're twitter.com/magplus, and on Facebook, we're facebook.com/magplus. Thanks a lot for listening in.